Hi, Hayden here, and this is an introduction to my unboxing video of the ASUS ZenFone 2, of which we actually bought two. I like the gray one and my wife liked the red one, and I'm going to mention products and services in this introduction. So I want to make the caveat up front that nobody has paid me for my insights, thoughts, or opinions as to any of the products or services that I'm going to mention here. I'm just going to talk about them as a, my honest opinion as a satisfied customer of the different services and products that I've had. I don't have anything bad to say about anybody in any of this cellular world here. I have some notes off the side of the screen here that I'm going to refer to that help keep me on track and move along. Again, the first thing I want to mention is about the opening. There is going to be the opening video unboxing, shall we say. But I want to mention that you need to use due care. I'm going to use the red and white box because of higher contrast, even though it's a gray phone that I just slipped in there. You have to be really careful when you open this phone because the phone is right at the top of the box and there can be a suction here. Maybe you're grabbing the box in a funny way or whatever. And when you open it and that top box comes off, it's possible that the phone might flip out and either land in your lap or bounce onto the floor. And you just don't want that to happen with your brand new phone. Another thing I want to mention really quick is that it does not come with a SIM card, and your current provider should just provide you with the new SIM card free of charge. I use AT&T. I did have to take it to the store, but that wasn't a problem because I had the time available and it got my phone up and running that much faster. The same day that I received it, I was working off of my phone. So I was very, very happy about that. I was very satisfied with the folks down at the AT&T store for taking care of me quickly and efficiently and letting me move along. Another note I have is there's no contract. Because there's no contract on this phone, and my wife and I have been off of contract for a while, we save $15 per month per phone. That's $30 a month savings. And again, I had the iPhone 3GS, so I've been off contract for a while. So even a free phone on contract is going to cost me $360 over a 2-year period. So if I can get a phone for less than $360 total cost, and I can not go on contract, well, I'm going to save the difference. And in this case, I'm going to save $60 because the ZenFone costs $299, so $300, and I'm going to save $360. So I'm going to save. I'm going to continue to get my discount, so I'm going to save $60, which is, so we have two phones. It's going to save us $120. Now another thing I want to mention is this: I held up the 3GS. It's quite the big phone because it's in an OtterBox case. The OtterBox case is the only reason why I've been able to have the iPhone 3GS for as long as I did, and I hope that OtterBox comes out with the Defender series case for the ZenFone 2 because it can be slippery in your hand, so you have to be careful how you handle it. I find that holding the phone like this is unnerving at times. It is a big phone. That when I hold the phone, I often have it with my fingers along the flat side or pushed up against my palm, and the rounded center part, the fattest part of the phone, is where my fingers rest that way, and they just race across. And this is the most secure way I have of holding the phone, just when I'm doing something with my hands or whatever, rather than holding it like this. This is not the most secure feel for me on that phone. Now I just want to make one other thing. We also needed new phones. It was time for us to get new phones. Her phone took a little a water test that it failed. She had an iPhone 4. It did fail the water test. My phone, it didn't drop calls. Both of our phones before hers failed the water test, and my phone failed to have good reception in our home office. Now we have another phone which is also a cellular phone that we can plug our regular phone into a box, and it is a cell phone, and but our regular home phones work as a cell phone. I hope that makes sense. It's called, I think it's AT&T cellular home phone or whatever that device is, but that works perfectly fine. So our old, they're not wired, they're hands-free phones, but they work perfectly fine using this cellular device. So for our cell phones not to work was kind of a bit of a pain. The other thing, comparisons. If you're reading reviews on the ZenFone 2, people are comparing this phone to the iPhone 6 Plus. They're comparing it to the HTC M9 and other phones that have what they call the flagship phones, the top-notch phones and everything else. And this phone isn't designed to go head-to-head with those phones, but yet they're comparing them head-to-head. More often than not, this phone's going to perform very, very well. Maybe not as good in every aspect as those other devices, but it's going to perform very, very well. And it costs a whole lot less when you add up the total charges for the phone, any lost savings, plus any support that the phone company gives you that you end up paying back over the months of the contract. So these things are kind of, they're trying to compare apples and apples and oranges and oranges. And really what it is you're going to compare an Apple to an ASUS. It's a totally different story. My phone, my 3GS, cannot compare to the ASUS. So you really can't compare, like, you know, oh, well, what's the iPhone 6 in comparison to this? A whole lot more money. That's going to be my first answer. It's going to cost me a whole lot more money. And I want to spend a whole lot more money. I want a phone that's also a camera that allows me to text, because we have unlimited texting, which is a nice thing to have. It doesn't cost us a whole lot of money for it. We have a very minimal cost plan with our provider. AT&T has a really good package for us, and though we'd like to pay a whole lot less money for it, you know, it's in comparison to all the packages, it's fair and reasonable amongst what's out there. But my iPhone 3GS just simply cannot compare with the capabilities of this phone. It's just simply newer technology, newer, faster, and cheaper. Pick which two you want, right? Anyways, so that's the thing. You'll see a whole lot of people comparing the different aspects of the phone. And I want to mention one other thing. I don't really use my phone that much. I use texting and email. My preference is email. I will use texting between my wife and close associates or clients that I have that I need to communicate with constantly. I'll use texting with them, and I use and email. Those are my two favorite ways of communicating, because you can take the time to think about what you're doing. It's not a phone call where you have to like rattle out whatever you have to say. You can take your time, you can compose your thoughts, you can think about it and send them a text, and it's probably going to be shorter than my video here. So with that, let's go into some points here. I already said be careful about opening the box. Following the setup screens is easy to do. I didn't need the SIM card to set this phone up. To set it up as a phone, I did, but to set up all the other aspects of the phone, other than the SIM card, I didn't need to do anything else. And the SIM card is the phone. As soon as I put the SIM card in at the store and they provisioned it with their system, it worked instantly. So it was nice. So follow the setup screens was easy to do. Now, on my wife's phone, it was easier for me to do because she didn't have an ASUS account already. I have the ASUS ZenBook, which is a laptop computer, and with that, I did set up an ASUS account. So I already had one, but I don't really use it for anything, so I didn't remember the password, so I had to go through that. So that kind of delayed me a little bit, but not very long, and it was easy enough to do. The SIM card, you may have to go to the store. I had to go to the local AT&T store to get it because it's such a new phone. They couldn't help me out on the internet. The automatic processing service couldn't help me out. And I talked to a live agent who also couldn't help me out, but they were very effective, very quick with helping me out and basically telling me where the local store was, which I already knew. But I was very happy that they just told me about it and I could go down there in person and pick up the card. And they helped me out within minutes. I was in and out. I got lucky because sometimes those stores are crowded, but I happened to get lucky, and the representative to help me out was able to quickly and efficiently get both of the phones set up rapidly. Bloatware. One of the things I see in the discussions is bloatware, and it is here. Before I get into that, let me talk about turning the phone on. The on-off button is at the top. It's right there in the center on the top, and I've heard complaints about that. Ironically, they're probably from a whole lot of different fans of different phones, but the button to turn on my iPhone 3GS and the iPhone 4 is at the top. It's over on the side on the top, but it's still on the top. So the complaint about the power button being on the top of the phone made absolutely no sense to me. In fact, I like it on top of the phone rather than the sides because there is not a button anywhere else on the sides of the phone other than the power button on top. That's the only button along the edges of the phone. And these other buttons on here aren't really buttons, they're just touchpads. They're just touchpads, which is another complaint that I read about. You can see them down there at the bottom. It's the backspace key, because I don't know what these things are called. I'm going from an iPhone to an Android device. They get the home key. It's got a little picture of a home, so I figured that out. And they got this other thing, which is multiple pages. And what that button there is for is a touch area. It allows you to see all of the open applications. Now on my iPhone 3GS, I don't know how they are on any other iPhone because they no longer supported the iPhone 3GS. They stopped supporting it a while ago. And I double punched the home button and it would show me all the applications that are running and killing my battery. So I would shut them off other than email and pardon me, I think I left the internet open because I was always checking things on the internet. So I didn't mind if that was open, but I would shut off every other application that was running or put them in sleep mode or whatever. On this phone here, once you turn the thing on, you got it all set up and everything else, there's a double tap thing that you can do on the screen and it starts up. You scroll, I should probably go back and show that again. You scroll up from the bottom of the screen, and that's funny because it has two little arrows pointing left and right, and on the iPhone you swipe to the side. But clearly, clearly in the in those two little arrows it says swipe up. So you swipe up to begin. I set up my password screen. You can do designs and other ways to unlock your phone. But once you unlock it, you're at your home screen. And I keep it very, very clean and clear. The only thing I have on there is mail, phone, chat. I have Firefox because I use Firefox for the internet, and my camera. So those are the only things there. On the second screen, I have 3 icons. One of them is a folder. 2 of them are, I don't think I'll ever use them, but you know, they don't seem to be using up any RAM, so I'll just leave them there. The other 2 icons in the center of my phone are an ASUS folder, which has applications on it that I do use, like the gallery to look at pictures or stuff like that, the calendar, things of that nature are in there. I didn't have any need to start throwing all these things out onto the main screen because I can just touch one button, it's just one extra touch and I don't care. The other one is Google, because I use Google a lot for a lot of different things, Google Earth and things like that that I installed on the phone. Gmail, I don't use, but Google, they give you a Google account, so you have a Gmail account for that. Other than that, in the center, there's a button that you can push, which will show you a whole bunch of apps, and you can clean some of these off and disable other ones. What I wanted to show you on that was from the home screen, if you scroll from the top and pull down, a menu drops down. If you do it again, a bigger menu drops down. Now these are applications like airplane mode, location, Bluetooth, things that you can turn off right from here and disable them so that you can save some of the RAM. One of the things that I have on here is the Auto Start Manager, and this shows me I have 2.5 gigabytes of RAM free, and I'm using 1.3 gigabytes of space for different programs. Now, if the phone only had 2 gigs of RAM, I'd be hurting on memory so far. But this has 4 gigs of RAM, and 2.5 of those are free and available. Now, with that, that's when I want to touch the home button again, and I want to touch that multi-screen button. It will show me that something's open. So if I close that, that's just like double tapping the home button on my iPhone 3GS. I can just touch that area and it'll show me applications that are open, burning up battery space, and I can just shut them off from there. I just wanted to show you that. Another thing that people don't really talk about is they talk about the double tap to turn the phone on. There's a double tap to turn the phone, put it back in sleep mode too. If you go to an area of the screen, which is another reason why I like keeping my screen clear, is you double tap to turn it on. Go ahead and enter your password to get into your phone. If you don't clutter up your area with icons, you can double tap it to shut it off. If you have icons there, then that application will open up. So I just wanted to share that with you as well. The bloatware is there. You can uninstall it or disable it. There's a lot of things you can disable, and there's different ways in which you can disable them, and other people in other reviews do a pretty good job of going through that. A couple of textual ones do a pretty good job of doing it. So I wanted to mention that. I like the uninstalling of them whenever possible. There was something about a kid's phone on here. I'm never going to use that. I'm not going to give a baby a cell phone. That's just not going to happen. But there are things on there that you may discover that you don't need at all. And if you tap the icon, you should be able to see whether or not you can disable it or not, or uninstall it. If you uninstall an application that you maybe perhaps wanted, you can just go into the Google Play Store. ASUS uses the Google Play Store to update their applications, so you can just go in there and go ahead and reinstall it and keep it up to date that way. So those are a couple of things I wanted to mention. With that, if you have any questions or comments or whatever, you can drop them in below the video. I leave the comments open for that. Please be nice. I know that there's some people out there that like Apple. They might like the Apple iPhone products. They might like the Windows products, or they might like some other product, and they're going to be, they might take it personal that I'm talking about the ZenFone 2 in this way, but it's just my opinion. I personally prefer to go with the ZenFone 2. I did all my research, and the camera is not near what I would have wanted in my personal phone. And let me just touch on that lastly before I turn it over to the unboxing video. The camera for me is a huge thing. It's absolutely tremendously huge. I shoot video for a living. I do litigation support for court cases. I don't follow people around in their cars. I do depositions, real boring stuff. Nothing really exciting happens in depositions. But I've been doing it for 20-something years and it pays the bills. But the point is that I take a lot of still pictures. I take a lot of still pictures, and I would love to shoot video on a cell phone. It'd be absolutely incredible. And that's one of the things about the iPhone. I don't think any of them have a place. I don't know if they do. So let me backpedal from that here. But I can tell you this, that the camera that I liked that had the best camera, and you can still actually get this phone, it's the Lumia 1020. But it only has a limited amount of RAM, and it doesn't have any additional capability to add memory for storage of your videos or images. It takes really, really great images, and it can shoot incredible video. But it only has so much storage, and you have to unload that thing all the time. This phone, the ZenFone 2, actually has an additional space in the back of the phone. You just pop the back off. You got to be very, very careful, again, not to drop your phone when taking the back of this thing off, to put in the SIM card or to add the memory card. And with that, I thought of something else I wanted to tell you about that is in the battery. And that's one more thing I want to discuss about. I planned on purchasing these phones from B&H Photo Video, because being in video, I buy a lot of my materials and a lot of my products from B&H. However, they actually didn't have the phone. They had a video. I got an email about the video announcing the availability of the phone, and I immediately jumped on after I wrapped up my research that I had done, and I said, yes, this is the phone I want to do, and I went to go purchase the phone, and it wasn't available. It was like, okay, tell me when it's ready. But I had already seen it on Amazon.com, so I went and purchased these on Amazon.com. Let me go to the red one for a minute. The red one in particular will not charge more than 50%. Now, years and years ago, there was an aircraft accident in the Everglades where the pilots were wondering about this little gear indication light, and a lot of people lost their lives from that. But in the end, after the investigation, it turned out the light was the problem. Now, how does aviation match up with this phone? I honestly believe that the error is not with the battery. I think the battery works perfectly fine, but the indicator says it's only charging up to 50%. And the reason why I say that is because my wife used the phone all day, and at the end of the day, it still said 50%. Now, either the battery's about to die and it's saying there's 50%, or it was really at 100% and now it's down to 50%. It never got lower than 50%, but it never got higher than 50% either, just locked in at 50%. But I contacted Amazon.com, and they've actually mailed out the other phone before I have to send this one back, because this one here is already established as her phone. It has a SIM card in it, it has her contacts in it, all synced up, everything's done. It was very, very easy to set the phone up, and everything is already established. So it's very, very nice with Amazon.com. They went ahead and sent out the replacement phone, and all I have to do is, I've already printed out the label. It doesn't cost me anything to send it back to them on a replacement, and we'll just send this old phone back and provision the SIM card with this phone's information and have it working again. I may put an updated comment or something below on that. But with that, that's really all I have to say about the introduction. Again, if you have any questions or comments or whatever, just drop them in below. Again, be nice. I didn't say anything bad about anybody here, and I hope nobody says anything bad about my opinions. They are my opinions. With that, stay tuned, and let's take a look at the unboxing of the ZenFone 2. Hi, Ray Hayden here, and this is my first unboxing video. I've never done one before, never had any real reason to do one, but I have done videos about devices that I've purchased for different things that I work on. This box has been delivered by the mail today, and it's my, hopefully it's not one but two ASUS ZenFone 2s, but also this is an experimental video. I'm going to jump away from the phone for a second about this device right here. I have a video about this device, and what this is it's upside down, sorry about that on the video, but it's the Shure X2U, and it takes an XLR microphone and allows you to use it via the USB port down here, and this will plug into the side of the laptop via the USB port. I say I need to recaulk this window. Anyways, this device here allows me to, it's basically a USB port. So I use my trackball and this device, the X2U device, at the same time. So I need to actually have more than one USB port. And the computer it's plugged into is my ASUS ZenBook, which you can't even buy anymore. I bought this several years ago, and they promptly stopped making it. They make other versions, newer versions, which are better. Anyways, that should give you some indication as to why I decided to go with the ASUS ZenFone 2. So let's go ahead and just jump right into the unboxing. And I apologize for my clumsiness with this video because I've never done one like this before. So we'll go ahead and just open up the box. Be very careful about this because I don't want to destroy anything in the box. All right. I also don't want to cut myself, so let's just go ahead and do the best we can on that. Now, when I purchased these phones, I purchased a red one and a silver or gray one. And the reason for that is because my wife and I both decided we needed new phones. I'll discuss why I went with this phone in a different video. But here you see the packaging from Amazon.com. It's excellent. And we do indeed have a gray and a red phone. The reason why we did that is because if we had two phones and they looked identical, we might grab the wrong phone on the way out the door. So that's why we got the red one and the gray one. I'm going to take a break here, and I'm actually going to open up the gray one a little bit and then come back to looking at some of the fine details on that. So stand by. All right, back on video again. I'm going to zoom in a little bit on the phone itself, or on the box. As you see, I kind of trimmed off the edge here, and because I saw this arrow. Matter of fact, let me take a look at the red box and bring that over here. So before I did anything at all, I can see this, there's an arrow here, which I can tell is some kind of a tab. And this design here kind of indicated to me that it's in a box that you kind of pull out. So I decided to just trim off, trim away some of the plastic on that, and then the phone will just slide out. Okay, now I've got the box slid apart, but I'm going to show you, because I had two phones, I can just show you. When I was going to undo the box, I noticed that they had this arrow here, and the design of the box kind of clearly indicates that you're going to slide the phone out of the box. So what I did is I carefully trimmed back the plastic here, and that's what you see here. You kind of flap. I wanted to leave it on there in case for any reason whatsoever I had to return the phone. I wanted to keep the packaging as pristine as I possibly could. And here's the actual phone itself. Oops, sorry. Here's the phone itself in the box. And before I start taking things out, there's that pull tab that you can use to pull the box out. Now, it's not an easy thing to do, so I'd suggest that if you have the ZenFone 2, you carefully and slowly and cautiously remove it from the box so that you don't instantly become a victim of a broken screen. So let me do some more disassembly of the box, and let's take a look at what's inside. All right, in removing the items from the box, the phone itself sits right on top of the box, and this little tab is actually folded down. The phone sits right here. It's kind of cradled nicely in the box itself. It kind of just flips out, which is the scary reason why you got to be careful in removing it from the box. And then this tab kind of lifts up a little bit, and that opens up the box underneath where you have these little compartments in which you'll find your USB cable, the power connector, and there's 4 little books. 2 of them are in English, and the other 2 are in different languages. I imagine they're warranty information and a user guide. Also, the internet has a lot of information about how to use the phone, and with that, that is the unboxing of the ASUS ZenFone 2. And to flip over the back of the phone here for a second, it is indeed the gray version. As a matter of fact, as I'm holding this, you can see the phone's actually sliding out of a slipcover. So you want to be real careful about that as well. So here we have it. It's a plastic bodied phone, and this is the gray or silver version of it. It says silver on the box. It looks kind of gray to me. I like the color very much, and that's it for the phone and what's in the box. So with that, I hope you enjoy, and I'll make another video about why I actually selected this phone. So with that, take care and be well.